Many years ago, when I was still doing features, an editor called me and he said, "Look, we can get an interview with Frank Rosenthal." Frank Rosenthal is the guy that Robert De Niro portrayed in the movie Casino. And I was excited because I had written a great deal about the Stardust Casino, its origins and where the money came from and all that stuff, because the guy had written a book about, played a big role in that. So I was excited about it. This was, again, years and years after the movie had come out. And I looked forward to it. I should tell you, too, I look forward to it because, in my experience, most features done with gangsters, this is before RICO was starting to be used by every prosecutor on the planet for every possible reason. And, mob guys are a little bit more talkative. And in my experience, mob guys were fun. They were open. They were a lot of fun. They had great sense of humors and really, and they were generous. But you know why? That's their job, man. I mean, what gangster is going to get anywhere in the world by saying, "I'm going to rip your throat out"? No. Who's going to buy into that? I mean, if you got to lend money from got to borrow money from a guy, which is what they would do, you're not going to lend to a guy that scares you. You're going to lend to somebody you think is just a sweetheart. And so, but and also they knew I wasn't a threat, and I had some experience, and I was careful in what I asked. I didn't. You learn to pull back if you could see a line of questioning, starting to scare them maybe or make them uneasy, because you don't know. I mean, maybe they're thinking, well, this could lead to my arrest later on, or maybe there's something going on in the underworld, and that question's a little too close. So you pick up the sense of it, and you move along. But with so I came in with this guy. He was working for his nephew at the in Florida, or his nephew was working for him at a bar he owned called the Green Parrot or something in Florida, in the south of Florida. And I sat down with him and I went in and started to ask these questions. Me and him just didn't hit it off. I mean, I don't know if you ever had the experience of walking into a room and immediately recognizing the guy doesn't like you and you don't like him. Well, it was like that, and I don't know why. I think I don't know why. Physically, we were just two completely different people. I'm a relatively short, stout guy. He was tall, thin person. Struck me as nervous. Also, I sensed immediately, I thought he was a man who had a mean streak. I don't know. That was my take. Yeah, there was a mean streak in him, I felt. It was in his face, or I don't know, something. Little silly things. Like I called him Mr. Rosenthal until he would give me permission to say, well, call me Frank. And he never did. And he called me John. And I just thought, well, I'm not really the junior partner here. Or call me Mr. Tui, and then we'll be on an even basis. But I guess he felt it. There was sort of this pretense to arrogance I didn't like. Especially, I hate to be a snob about it, but he would also use $55 words where a one penny word will do. By the way, in almost all conversations, a one penny word will do. You don't have to use $10 words to impress people. I think that's what he felt he had to do, and it's just so we get these ridiculous words tossed into the conversation. I remember one was a preponderance, and I realized later he picked that up in court. He probably didn't know what that meant. It's a legal term. So we talked, and he would, he'd go into this smart alecky response to something I asked him, and I just thought, plow along, and we'll see what we get here. And it just got worse. And then I think when he thought he had gone too far occasionally, because I could feel, I have a very ruddy face, and I could feel myself turning, the color in my face turning red. And I just thought, I'd take him in his chair, and they fit right out that window. And I thought, he'd back off a bit. Towards the end, I called him Frank anyway, because, why not? he didn't deserve respect, this guy. After the interview, I remember fuming for a few days, thinking, did you ever do that where you walk on? I should have said that, and I did. But I tried to be professional. I tried to be the better man in the situation. But he was not a nice guy. Was not a good experience. I did not file the story because I didn't write the story, and it's money out of my pocket, but not a good experience. And every time I watch the movie, Casino's a great movie, I just think of that. So